Avoid legal snags by telling people they're being recorded. You are being recorded, Jesse.
That's good to know.
Just
I
so you know.
was a little worried about it.
I would be.
Okay, and
And
take it away.
go! All right. This week's podcast is sponsored by Ouija board apps and extremely questionable CGI.
This week's podcast is also brought to you by Pig Trading Cards and the loudest neighbors ever.
I am your host, Madison.
I'm your other host, Jesse James. I imagine that will become more fluid later.
Yeah, I had to switch apps on my phone a couple of times to just to like read it. Um, but I like it, and I
Yeah.
like that. Okay. Well,
So I've just sent you one of the nightmares at work that I seem to be the only person who sees.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
So in case anybody, at least in the Pacific Northwest, ever thought they didn't have a spider behind them at all times during every day, they can be alleviated of that.
Oh my god. This is terrifying. I have an aversion to setting spider traps for this reason
Because you
because
know they're there.
I know they're there, but
Yeah.
most of the time I don't see them. If I set a spider trap, now what I've got is a tray full of spiders. Oh my god. So, for context, the picture that Jesse just sent me is kind of what I said, a tray full of spiders. Let's see how many. One, two, three. Wait, is that it looks like there's one on top of another one, and I can't tell if that's two or three in a pile.
I think it's 3.
No, that's not good. And these are all like they all look like those I as a very advanced spider identifier, brown, scary, big spiders.
Yeah, they kind of look like small wolf spiders. I don't know if they are, but
Yeah, I don't know. There's one that's really big, and then the rest are kind of the same size.
so the other thing is that I already threw away a glue trap that looked like that like a couple weeks ago because I am always filling that tiny fridge at work / where you used to work.
Yeah.
And it's a constant problem. So yeah, and at home I have this this
okay, now I'm gonna send you a picture.
this like fluted glass and this requisite thick piece of paper I use to move them all outside.
Oh my god. That's pretty good. Again, I'm sending you a picture of my spider catching gear. It's actually at my mom's house, so we don't have really any spiders in our apartment, which is good. But
Are you
at your
mom's house currently?
No, I'm home now. But
Okay.
at my mom's house, I have a wait. I'll wait for it to appear.
Aha.
I have a jar. It's a jar full of spiders that's been now I think has maybe 5 in it. It's kind of like a running jar. Like I keep the jar and the spiders so I can see how many.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm actually describing is kind of weird and scary behavior, but
yeah, what I'm looking at is something you could call a killing jar. That just seems to have a lot of unhappy spiders coexisting.
I think the one on the bottom, I can't remember if it was dead at that point or not. I do know that I did have 2 that were alive in the jar at the same time.
Well, they all look very unhappy, alive or dead, so I think that's what's important.
That's good. Well, now that I've outed myself as a spider serial killer,
That's fine.
it's fine.
I've I've watched Mindhunter. I get it.
I actually haven't. I need to watch that. I think I've watched maybe 2 episodes of it, and I was just like, eh.
2 episodes of the first season.
Hmm.
Uh, I think they take a lot of liberties with that stuff if you've read about it. Um, but it does a pretty good job of, I don't know. It might be a little on the West Wingy side of like high-minded things that are happening, but it's
Gotcha.
still written better than that, and it's more artistically done for sure.
Yeah, I liked at least in the episodes. I guess what I'll say is I like the premise of the show a lot. I think that's
Yeah.
a really interesting place to start. But the 2 episodes that I saw didn't like super hook me. But I'll probably watch it at some point, that being said.
It definitely feels like they took a little bit of uh, direction from the first season of the Hannibal series. Did you ever see that?
Mm-mm.
It was Mads Mikkelsen as Hannibal Lecter, but before he was found out.
Mm.
And they have a little bit of that feeling where there's not necessarily hallucinations or anything, but there's definitely like stuff that is meant to like confuse you a little bit or make you wonder what they're showing you. And that continues through both seasons so far, but like if you know who they're talking about, which you would when you watch it, um, they kind of have these interstitial cuts each episode of another serial killer and how their rise up to their breaking point where they start like taking action and stuff like that. How that kind of coalesces in their personal life, but
Mm.
they don't give them a name or anything. They just kind of slowly show you like what town they're in and like what they're doing and stuff like that.
Oh, that's cool.
They also, I, they found a really good Charles Manson. They found a good like very short, very charismatic man to do that, which I appreciate. Uh,
That yeah, that's an important one to get right.
Yeah, and I think their Ed Kemper is good, but that's like sort of the most popular part of that show is how well that guy did with it.
Oh yeah, or in Mindhunter,
Yeah,
yeah, I did. I remember. So I haven't seen the show, but I watched someone on YouTube put like the original Ed Kemper interview right next to the way that the actor did it, and
yeah,
it was really good and also terrifying. But yeah.
yeah. He's also the guy who acted as him is a little bit like that already, just his mannerisms. Um, I've seen him in a
Perfect.
few different things now, and he's definitely not completely dissimilar.
Well, that's good. Someone should keep an eye on that.
Um, so did you want to touch on some Bible man, or did you want to save that for when we've fully steeped in Bible manning?
I think I'll save that before so I have a little bit more time to marinate a little bit in um, the full backstory. I think there's some really interesting research to be done on the producer Willie Ames
Okay.
because I guess he was in Charles in Charge, which I've never really watched, but is a thing. And then in that video that I sent you earlier, they I can't remember the name of the channel, but it was like a basically like a reaction to which one was it? Some Bible Man episode, but they made a lot of references to Willie Ames being a really heavy drinker. So
Okay.
I want to do some research there. Um, but I thought we could. circle back kind of to one of last week's topics. So I finished Haunted this
Okay.
season too, and then I watched a couple of the season ones. The season one definitely is not, as far as I've seen,
No.
very good.
No, so you're about where I am because I've watched the first 2 episodes of season 1 and it's just not a good show.
It's
Uh,
boring. It's pretty boring compared to the second season.
for as much criticism as I have of the second season, it's a way better show than the first.
Yeah, I think what really separated the second season from the first that I've seen so far is just better effects. I think they definitely had some more
Yeah.
budget dedicated to the effects the second time around.
It's got that Netflix desperation stink on it.
Yeah, yeah, that's probably the best way to describe it. And also, um, I don't know, the story so far just not as engaging, except for the second. I think it's the second episode where it's two little girls who are not little girls, two women who are basically survivors of living in a house of a serial killer.
Yeah, that's the one that I saw last.
Yeah.
Uh, it it's definitely closer to what the second season is like,
Yeah.
but I don't really know how to feel about it. Uh, it still seems. I didn't look up anything. I don't know if that one's true at all or not.
I would I don't know. I honestly don't know. But if the story is what they're saying, it doesn't belong in Haunted. It belongs in like a fucking documentary. Like
Yeah,
that's
the
not
childhood trauma show uh, for that and the third episode of the second season.
yeah, like why they I don't know. I think they were just like, let's take these kind of terrifying and horrible experiences that these people have been through and just expose that to normal people who don't go through scary conversion therapy and also live with a serial killer for their most formative years.
You didn't think that dad seemed like fun?
He seemed like a real nice guy. Oh, but that I saw that and I was like, this is something that would be on My Favorite Murder or something that they probably would
Yeah.
have talked about at some point if it was real. So
Yeah, I have no idea. That also seems like it might be most people who are like kids of serial killers don't publicize themselves very
yeah,
much.
yeah. So I don't. Although I didn't really get from the episode. I were they the children of that couple, or were they just like somehow in their care? I don't really remember.
I thought they were the children, but it has been like I don't know, 5 days or so since I've seen it.
It's
I
not
can't be
worth
expected to
committing.
remember facts.
It's not worth committing that much brain space to anyway. But yeah, so that was my impression of that episode. And then going back to the last episode of the second season, which was
Yeah,
very good.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. I definitely did.
Oh my god. So that episode, I just realized that like maybe I should be saying spoiler alert or something because I'm just blindly spoiling everything for everyone. But
Yeah, if you want to watch Haunted and are worried about spoilers, I guess don't listen to this part of the podcast.
spoiler alert, it's all lies
Yeah.
and or very scary true stories that deserve a documentary. But what was I talking about? Okay, so the in the intro, the very bad CGI is what I was referring to at this. So they do a really terrible CGI like cartoony smile on the scary men. Is
Yeah.
it just one guy? I think it's two guys, isn't it? Like,
I think it's everything that this guy telling the story thinks is scary does that, but it is mostly that one guy and the
then
other
there's like,
character later.
yeah. So it starts off with just the one guy. What did he call him? Like the red man? No, I
He
don't
was he
remember.
was like a butcher or something, wasn't he?
Yes, that's what it was. Yeah. So just this butcher that would come and like sit and watch this kid sleep. And so there's a really, again, going back to this, I know we hit this pretty hard last episode. There's a huge recurring theme in all of these episodes where like the person telling the story is uh not sleeping. Like
Oh yeah.
they're
No,
all
that they're always mentally ill, not taking care of it, not sleeping.
yeah, they're all of them at some point were like, I couldn't sleep because this person was just staring at me all night, and I'm like, that probably feeds into the situation quite a bit. But
Yeah.
yeah, so yeah, that CGI, or I don't even know if that's considered CGI. I don't even know what the fuck that is, but they basically like if you know Photoshop at all, it's just like a click and drag sort of situation, but with the corners of the mouth.
Yeah. It was pretty good. It was like one step above a Snapchat filter.
Yes. And I have to say, it was so bad that the first time I saw it, it was pretty unsettling.
Yeah.
I was just, oh, okay. But once you see it, because they do it a couple of times, and then like 10 minutes later in the episode, there's another scary character who is a clown who gets hit by a car.
Yeah. Clown hit by car was a really good character.
I'm so confused by the storylines, and they're at an event, and there are clowns at the event, and somebody in their car runs down a bunch of the clowns. Plural. There were more than
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Um,
But one of the clowns, he
but
was
one
a
of the
scary clown.
the bad clown, that's the one you don't want to mess with, gets up and has the weird CGI crazy smile, and then follows the kid home to his house and attacks the entire family,
Yeah.
and then kills the dog. Spoiler alert.
Right. Yeah, I'd kind of forgotten about that because it was very stupid.
And then they all say that the dog sacrificed himself so that they might live.
Yeah, the dog attacked the dying clown man so that we may all live.
Yeah.
It's
Mhm.
heroic. You have to have at least one hero in that story.
I think the hero is the grandpa with the shotgun
Yeah.
who comes out, and I swear to God, there's a scene where the clown comes into the home and like goes up the stairs and is terrorizing these three young boys and like chases them into a room. Um, and for some reason, none of these ghosts or beings can open doors. They can only like rattle the doorknob really vigorously. That's all they can do. And then the clown turns around, and here's Grandpa with a shotgun pointed straight at the clown
Yeah.
who's terrorizing his grandchildren. And there's a solid like 3 seconds where they're just looking at each other. And then the clown turns around and leaves. So yeah, I think Grandpa is the hero of that story.
I But doesn't it seem like that story in particular, there may be some mental health there, but it seems like that guy is just lying about what that story is? Because the other
Yeah.
ones, at least you can kind of understand, like how if they had a certain problem, maybe they convinced themselves that that was happening. But this one's just like, and then the clown man came, and all my friends saw it, and my grandpa chased away, and it beat up my dog, and then like it feels very like stream of consciousness, and then solidified into like, no, that's what happened.
Yeah. Yeah, I think out of all of them, that's the one that most seems like just complete bullshit to me.
And did you appreciate at least the graphics in the episode before that, the war one?
I didn't even finish that one, to be honest.
It's pretty bad. Did you at least see the monster?
No, I didn't. I'll have to go.
Okay.
I'll have to
Well,
go back.
happy Halloween, because that one's real good.
Is it real spooky? Real spooky, scary?
The first time you see it, it's surprising because it doesn't seem like it fits very well with that show. Uh,
Huh.
but once they start using it more, it's bad.
That seems to be the case with all of their effects. Like,
Except that first episode of the second season where it's never scary and it's just ridiculous.
I don't know what you mean. Crumbling Boob Woman was very terrifying for me.
Yeah. I was talking to some other people about that show, and I want to say another podcast actually touched on it in like the last day or two.
Really?
And one of the things that both of those sources brought up, which I hadn't even thought about, is that that friend who the mimic version of the girlfriend goes to like harass,
Mm-hmm.
that friend totally was down to start fucking that lady, even though the other guy was like either there
Upstairs.
or yeah, he was like totally fine with that, and that
Yeah.
guy didn't have any problems. Like that guy wasn't the like the haunted one in the story, and they just gloss over the fact that like I it is true, like they probably all knew the story leading into that, but I like to imagine if it is true stuff they're telling each other, that that guy was basically telling everybody that that happened and he was like totally fine with it just then. But yeah, I hadn't even
Oh.
considered that part of it.
Yeah, that part did not super cross my mind in that scene.
Probably all the boobs.
I was very distracted. Oh, but yeah, that's yeah, that the CGI from that last episode was. I wanted to give a little moment for that.
Well, I was working for most of the weekend on my stuff, and I thought it was worth mentioning that basically all Saturday, my neighbors listened to what sounded like maybe one album of really loud polka music the entire day, uh, which it's been a while since I've had something in audio that makes it hard to work, but that was definitely on the list of not conducive to getting things done. Or if I was getting the right things done, maybe very conducive, because it was a flowing beat, I suppose. It was really consistent.
That is how I would describe polka, is just one long flowing beat.
Yeah.
That's a very interesting choice for your neighbors to make. Are they I don't know, why would they do that to you? I guess that's what I'm getting at.
I don't know. I think all of the people who live in this building have gone insane. Because well, they've been doing a lot of construction. Maybe there's a gas leak or something. But I, yesterday, uh, Nick and I and Nick's boyfriend went to get food. And when I walked outside, it smelled like somebody had like lit 1,000 candles. It was like that weird, like wax paraffin, like burning smell. And I walked up to where they had parked, and they pointed up to the unit above us,
Mhm.
and the guy had his grill out, and there was just flame shooting out of the top of it, and it's one of those little red non like propane grills. It's like a charcoal grill,
Mhm.
So I have no idea how he got it to be that high a flame, but the flame was about as high as the grill, and it's on a little covered patio, so like that doesn't seem safe at all.
That's not.
And then the people next to me have been doing, I can't hear it now, but they were doing something earlier today, like right before I got a hold of you, that was real weird. I think it was just very, very loud talking. I think maybe they do like speakerphone for everything, but like through an actual
Oh,
speaker. But
that's my
our
favorite type of person.
our walls aren't even that thin. It's just very like overbearing noise. And I like overbearing noise, but
Big fan of big noise.
yeah, I mean the people above us do a lot of like I think they have kids, so the kids run up and down the hall, and the hall is like 50% of this whole apartment. I think the kids also are above my room, so there's a lot of like sudden like bouncing noises and stuff
Oh,
like that.
good.
But for the most part, I find that kind of comforting as like, oh, there's people around kind of thing.
Hmm.
But it's been getting weirder, and I think maybe it's just winter setting in quicker than usual, but I'm not really sure.
Yeah, it's time to come inside and make noise because it's too cold to do it outside.
Yeah, it's time to use up all your charcoal because you can't use it for the rest of the year, I
Just,
guess.
the whole, all of it that you didn't use during the summer, just pile it on there
Hmm.
to light it on fire. Let's see how high we can get those flames this winter.
Yeah, the daily life of a low income nerd, really exciting.
Oh my gosh. We don't have any neighbors so exciting here. Um, Mostly because there's a really high like turnover rate because it's a college town, so everybody's here for like a semester or something and then they leave.
Are you claiming that people who come there for a semester don't want to stay there to have a, a productive
I
life?
mean,
That seems like a weird
no,
thing to assert about that area.
absolutely not. You know what? Actually, recently we just got our first um French, I'm doing air quotes, for those who can't see me, which is everyone, bakery.
Oh shit!
Oh my god, game changer.
You can you can finally eat those fine French bakery goods.
Fine French bakery goods made by Idahoans. That is what I want.
Uh-huh.
So I'm excited for that to actually for real open. They did a soft opening, but now there are handmade croissants happening where I live. And
That's
that's
pretty good.
the important thing.
Just remember if they make any pastries with iron crosses on them or anything, that is not traditional.
Maybe not to where you're from, but
Yeah, you're kind of right.
it's somewhat of a tradition here. Not one I'd get behind, but we do have a history.
Yeah.
Yeah, that happens. I haven't seen much of that in a while, which is ideal. So
Yeah, I would hope it would stay out of college town zones, but who knows?
yeah, it's the particular town that I'm in gets a lot of flack for being a small liberal haven and deep, deep red. I'm pretty sure at this point.
Yeah.
There's like one place in Idaho I could be referring to, so I'm sure everybody would know where that is. Anyway, yeah, we don't have really any interesting neighbors here because they're all college kids. But I'm sure you remember me telling you about my neighbors when I lived there. Do you remember anything about these
I remember it's a
particular neighbors?
topic that came up, but You'd have to remind me of what they were doing.
So we lived on top of some very angry lesbians. It's
Yeah.
like super, super angry people. They actually we were kind of rehashing this the other day, my boyfriend and I, and we were thinking we only saw if okay, I we just kind of assumed that they were like a lesbian couple, but we only saw the other lady like twice, and all the other times it was just like the one lady who was like kind of older, and she just kind of had this irritated air about her. But anyway, what they
So she
would
was just
do,
kind of a fun lady.
she was super fun,
Okay.
real fun. And she liked to do, speaking of fun, a really cool thing where if we did anything noisy like walk or breathe, she would take her broom and, like a fucking cartoon, bang on the ceiling.
That's the
Which,
main thing I remember is the brooming.
yes, there was much brooming. It was it happened a lot to the point like she actually ended up filing a complaint against us at one point, and we were almost gonna get kicked out. And there's like we weren't loud people. We were actually a house full of computer people. So we would just stay in our own rooms and be very quiet doing computer things. So I don't know what she could have possibly been upset about.
Maybe she was a Dota player and she was just really pissed off.
That would make sense. That would. I too get very angry the few times I've ever played Dota. I hate that game, but that's that's a possibility. Or maybe our apartment was haunted, and that's what she was hearing.
Hmm.
Or maybe it's her own apartment. Anyway, she liked to broom the ceiling. Is my main point.
I mean, it sounds like she was haunting the apartments, if anything.
She did leave suddenly and inexplicably one day. Like she was
Like,
just gone.
huh.
Which I guess is what one might call moving out, but it was very sudden.
Well, I mean, if she shows up where you are now, I think we can call it unofficial haunting.
I believe, yeah, I'm just waiting for the day where I'm home alone and all of a sudden just like whacking on the ceiling with a broom. It's coming, probably.
Yeah, well, you guys can't shut up.
Us loud ass people. I think
That,
we were loud like maybe 3 times the whole time, but
that's what everybody always said when you guys still lived around here is, who are those fucking loud people? I can't
they're
deal with them.
so fucking loud they won't shut up with their stomping.
Hmm.
So, kind of actually speaking of hauntings, one of the things I mentioned in the intro I wanted to tell you about that happened this week is I downloaded an app that is a Ouija board app.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I don't know if you can tell. I'm very bored. So bored. Very. But
Got that French bakery coming, so don't
it's
worry.
coming. It's in the works. But so I guess a little backstory. I don't know if I told you about this, but so I told you I was at my parents' house this weekend.
But that was a lie.
I drove back yesterday.
Ah.
So it was not I was there for 24 hours.
Ooh.
Um like real quick in and out, which is kind of what you got to do with that particular area. But I have some furniture that I inherited from my great grandparents on my mother's side,
Okay.
and um, like I guess some other necessary backstory is that like all throughout high school I was like depressed and just generally an unpleasant person to be around. I gather from what everybody's told me.
Nice.
So, so My mother and my grandmother and my father, I think, is in on this too, have all suggested to me that my room in the house is haunted or there's some sort of like demonic possession going on in my room. And two out of three of those people are very actually do truly believe in like demons.
Are you sure this isn't like a long con to try and get you to come home to fight the demons?
I would not put that past my mother.
Okay.
That's a possibility. But so I inherited furniture from my great grandparents, and then I vaguely recall at some point my mom telling me that my great grandpa was involved in the occult somehow,
Okay.
which
That sounds promising.
I don't know what that means. I was offered no other explanation
He didn't
or
go to church very often.
I think she mentioned something having to do with like the Freemasons, which is not something I know anything about.
Well, I can tell you what the Freemasons aren't, and that's a cult.
Well, I think she yeah, I don't know. I think maybe she was talking more like witchcrafty sort of shit. So,
Okay. I'm into
which
that.
I don't think that's Freemasons, but whatever. Uh is
I
it?
mean, you could be into the Freemasons and into like the occult. That
Okay.
that's not a mutually exclusive thing. The Freemasons tend to be a little more like business and industry though. Like they're the occult the way that like business leaders or FBLA is probably a better um like mirror to it.
Okay. All of my knowledge of the Freemasons comes from the National Treasure franchise. So
Okay, so you got
that's all.
it.
I'd say I have a pretty firm grasp of what I'm talking about.
I mean,
Um,
it's probably better than most people I talk to whose Freemason knowledge is the Assassin's Creed series.
Mine at least involves Nicolas Cage, so I'd say that validates it just a smidge more.
Yeah, you got a leg up on the other people there.
I think so. Oh, speaking of Nicolas Cage, I,
Nicklish. Did you watch that trailer I sent you?
I haven't. I forgot to, but
Okay.
I'll do it. Um, I'm like super sidetracking myself and rabbit trailing a lot. But anyway, long story short, they think it's a possibility that my furniture is haunted. So I did what any reasonable, alone, sad person would do and download a Ouija board app on my phone.
Nice.
Ta-da!
Okay. That story was confusing for a second, but it makes total sense now.
Okay, I'm glad I
How
brought it full circle.
how good is this Ouija board app?
Okay, so I'll tell you what I learned. Um, um, actually, no, I won't tell you what I learned yet. But for some reference, there
Uh-huh.
are ads on this Ouija board app,
Seems legit. Got to make
which
money.
really, which really bring you out of the mood when you're like communicating with the undead, and then an ad for Amazon pops up, like,
Uh-huh.
ooh, my name is Mary and I died of a car crash. Also, here's an Amazon Echo that you can buy for $9.99 or however many dollars that
You
is.
seem like the kind of person who might like a non-human entity to speak to in their own home.
Hey, you seem lonely. Here's something you can talk to in your house. Because
Yeah.
clearly that's something you're into.
Well, if you're not getting ads for those like stuffed animals that look like they're breathing, you're probably doing okay
Oh,
still.
dear God, is that a thing?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Uh,
I don't like that at all.
um, it's dumber than you think. Uh,
I'm thinking it's pretty dumb, so I'm interested in this. Oh, we might have to circle back to that in a future
uh,
episode.
yeah, yeah. We'll circle back to it by me sending you.
Okay, good.
Hmm. Whoa, that's more expensive than I expected. So,
How
quick sidetrack. No offense to your ghost grandpa, um, but yeah, I'm just gonna hold this up. I think that'll get the point across.
Yeah, yeah. Oh no.
So,
Oh no.
yeah, that's like $35 too. Look up perfect pets, but the S the S on pet is three Z's. um, so the uh
Oh.
the mall in Silverdale by where I went to college uh in Washington. Uh that mall I don't think exists anymore, but they had a store that was a fucking nightmare in that place. Uh, I I did buy a few things. Uh, one of them was a 2 foot tall fiber optic Virgin Mary,
Oh, okay. I've heard of this Virgin Mary.
and
I've heard of this.
whatever it was on, it made like a noise like constantly. So I would have it sitting next to the TV in the place we moved to right out of college, and whenever you would like turn the TV off, you would just hear this like electric rain noise coming from the corner. I'm sure it wasn't very safe, but it didn't heat up enough for me to worry, so I just kind of let it go. Um,
Oh my god.
somebody took that and sold it, like stole it and sold it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember
So
you telling me that.
and like there's a lot of things that happened too, but that was one of the most confusing because I literally bought it from that place as it was going out of business for like half a year, and I want to say it cost me $7, like $7.99, like very cheap.
I'm really curious how much the person who sold it got for it.
Probably more than that. I would have to assume.
I hope so. I seems like it was worth more than that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh my god. Also, these pets just
Uh-huh.
look like something that you would give to a person whose animal that they were like unnecessarily attached to just died.
Yeah, no, it totally seems like one of those like um oh, what is it? Postpartum babies or whatever.
Yeah.
The
Oh.
yeah, those like
Uh,
weird uh they look like training dolls or something that
except horrifying.
like I'm not in a position to know what that is like or if that's helpful, but it sure doesn't seem like it.
If it helps you, absolutely go for it. But as a person who has no use for them right now, or hopefully ever, um, they're not pretty, and I have no interest in them. But yeah, these are look like they're very much in the same vein as a victim of a dead animal.
Uh-huh. Uh some of them looked almost taxidermied, but of an animal that didn't exist, which I
Yeah,
appreciated.
yeah, they do. I'm
very,
real deep into these now. I
very
really
somber times in this week's podcast.
I and like they're all just sleeping.
Uh-huh.
There's no other positions. It's just like here's a sleeping dog that breathes.
Yeah, can you imagine
I don't.
the 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 feeling you would have sitting in a room and seeing that and going like, "Come here." And then slowly realizing what you've done and
Oh
the whole situation. Like, especially if that's to replace a pet that you had. That seems so much worse.
no. So now you have a pet that's like gone and done the big sleep, and then you also have one that's just perpetually sleeping forever and never does anything.
I bet there are people who have gotten those as hand-me-down gifts from their parents,
Hmm.
and that seems good.
I I kind of want to get one now, just so that like for posterity, if I ever have children, to give or inherit my things.
I would like you to get one so that we already said Evan's name in the last podcast,
Okay, yeah, Evan.
but as the what he was the third member and Nick was the fourth member of the podcast. As
Oh
the
yeah.
unofficial third member of the podcast, I would really like you to get one, but not tell Evan that you're getting one. And then have it like on the
That's a great
pillow of the bed
idea.
when he gets home or something.
That would actually be perfect because he knows that I do really want an animal, but we're in no position, so that would be very ideal. That's a great
Yeah,
idea.
you picked one
Actually,
up.
yeah, they sell koala ones, and I think that would be really great.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Well, there's two things about that. One is it won't have herpes, so that's a big plus. Or maybe it's chlamydia. I always forget what I'm
Oh,
thinking
is that
about.
they have like some sort of immunity to
No,
something?
no. I think it's koalas that like some huge percentage of them all have chlamydia. But the other side of that is Happy Halloween.
Here's a koala that I picked up.
It's the spookiest, and also that's about how long it would probably take to ship, right?
Oh yeah. Well,
Mm.
I know what I'm doing tonight. That's pretty excellent.
Well, I'm pretty excited about that.
We'll have some new topics for next week's episode.
Well, some continuing stories.
Mm.
Uh, was there was there
Is
anything
there
that
an
actually
edge?
was there anything that actually came from getting that Ouija app? Did you learn anything from your great grandfather?
I learned that I'm gonna go ahead and just speak as if everything the app told me is true because
It is.
it is.
Yeah.
So there is in my room um, a ghost or a
Cool.
demon, which I'm pretty sure semantically are two very different things. But I asked it if it was a demon, and it said yes. It is a she. Her name is Rose,
Okay.
and she died of a heart attack.
Seems unlikely for. Okay. Yeah.
So the way this app works, it's first of all there are ads. Second of all, it's extremely frustrating to use because you have. I'll have to send you a link so you can like download and play with it yourself. But you have to. The screen is the Ouija board, and you
Uh-huh.
have to keep your finger on the planchette the whole time, or else like nothing happens.
I'm just
So
thinking about how hot my old ass phone is gonna get doing this.
mine got pretty toasty. So
Good.
I was also hiding under like 4 layers of blankets though, because I did this at 2 o'clock in the morning. I was scared.
Oh yeah, you got to do it that way.
Um, yeah. So you keep your finger on the screen on the planchette. I learned is what it's called. I guess the little
Uh-huh.
triangular thing. And then while you hold it down, that's when the spirits are listening to you, and that's when you may pose questions to them.
Did you
So,
re- did you remember to say goodbye before you let go of the planchette? Did it teach
so,
you that?
yeah, there's a special spot on the board that says goodbye, and you have
Yeah.
to hold it down on that spot, or else the spirits will get mad at you.
Yeah. A lot
So,
of rules in the spirit world.
apparently, you would think they wouldn't concern themselves so much with the rules, being dead and all, or demons and all. It's unclear, but yeah. So, and my grandparents are from Kansas, so I asked specifically if she died in Kansas, and she said, "I don't remember." And then,
Uh-huh.
and
Checks
then
out.
I said, "Are you in my furniture?" And she's like, "No." And I was like, "Well, that solves that. My furniture's not haunted, but there is a demon in my room named Rose who
Okay.
can't remember if she's from Kansas or not."
I mean, it sounds like she probably isn't.
I, I personally would distinctly remember being from Kansas, but
Uh, oh man, I wish I could remember the name of that movie. Do you know who James Spader is?
the name sounds familiar, so maybe if you continue, I'll remember this person.
He's the voice of Ultron, uh,
Okay.
and he also is the star of Blacklist, a very bad show.
Ooh, I've not seen that, so.
Um, for some reason, this Rose Demon really makes me think of a like early 90s, I think, James Spader movie where there's two James Spaders. Spoiler alert.
Ooh.
One of them dies. I want to say he gets like hung in a gymnasium at a college,
Mm-hmm.
and the other one like takes over the storyline, but is also like psychically linked to the. It's a whole lot of business in that
It
movie.
sounds very good.
If I can find it, I would like to add that to our list of bad things to experience and talk about because that movie is a real good one.
Okay,
That
perfect.
and we still need to do something with Mandy because I haven't seen it yet, but I own it, and I do think
Oh,
that's the trailer I sent you. That
yeah, okay. I'll make it a point to actually watch it this week.
in mentioning of Nicolas Cage, uh, that seems like the most Nicolas Cage in any movie in some ways.
Yeah, I'm excited to see that. Um, oh, I also wanted to mention, so when I was trying that Ouija board, I
Mhm.
was at I was at my parents' house, but today I was sitting at my desk, and I work from home, so I was in the house, and all of a sudden in my bedroom I hear like a really loud crashing noise, and I was home by myself, so I got spooked, and then I immediately went into like trying to see what the noise was, and my mirror fell off my wall and broke. So I whipped out my handy dandy Ouija board.
Oh, the
And
future's dark.
there's an app for everything.
Hmm.
Communicating with spirits and ordering food and everything you could ever want. So I hopped on there, and I was like, "Hey, ghosts, how many of you are there?"
Yeah.
And they said three. So I have three ghosts in my house.
Is one of them the ghost of your mirror?
No, but one of them is Rose. She followed
Oh.
because I asked. I said, "What are your names?" And because it's an app, um, I had to ask it like three times to get different answers.
Uh-huh.
And I never actually got it. Oh wait, yes I did. So there's Rose, which I assume followed me from my parents' house.
Gotta
Um,
be.
obviously, who is I asked her more questions today, and I think she said she was 34, but she also said that she died in a uh did she say a car crash, or I'm getting them mixed up, but she
Well,
changed her the
Rose died of
down.
a heart attack
Yeah, okay.
originally.
Originally she said heart attack. Today she said car crash.
Okay.
So I'm getting a little skeptical here with these stories not really lining up. And then I was introduced to Mary, who was murdered.
All right.
Spooky.
That's
And
pretty
then
cool.
pretty exciting. And then there was Anne, who got, what did she do? Cancer. Cancer.
Oh, we figured it out.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was cancer. And I didn't really get much more information because eventually that they just started spelling out "make it stop" over and over and over.
The
So
women.
I had to say goodbye.
Man, that sounds like an interesting amount of planchette movement.
Oh, and it's really obnoxious because you have to keep your finger on the screen for every single movement, or else it stops giving you the reading or the words. So you have to like drag your finger on the screen like an idiot the whole time. But for only $5.99, you can upgrade your app and you don't have to do it anymore.
Wait, you can upgrade it to not touch it anymore?
Yep, and it spells faster, so you can talk to the spirits faster.
Well, any doubts I had about this app are gone. It's
Immediately
legit.
expelled.
I guess the only other thing that I need to know about this app is it an official Hasbro product?
I'll have to get back to you on that.
Because if it's not, I don't know if it's actually contacting spirits.
I mean, I'm sure in some form or another, it is a Hasbro product. Um, let's see who the developer is. Developer is First Class Media.
Huh.
So, I mean, that tells you something.
I don't know. I'm a big time nerd and I can't recall First Class Media, but I'm definitely looking it up.
Yeah. It was the highest rated Ouija board app with a rating of 3.9 stars out of 5.
3.9 is the highest rated of what?
Ouija board apps. Oh, wait, maybe there's a.
Okay.
So I went with the highest one, obviously. There's a lot of ghost detector apps that look like they just kind of access your camera and then overlay spooky ghosts.
Uh-huh. Okay, so are you talking about the Spirit Board app?
Yes.
All right. Do you want to know more about First Class Media?
Yeah.
So on the top of their website, it is noted the creators of Message from Santa. Bring Santa's magic to your home since 2014.
Oh, I see it now. Oh
Look at
my
this
god.
dope ass picture of Santa Claus.
Oh my god. I wonder if you have to keep your finger on the planchette the whole time in the Santa app too.
Yeah, you have to keep Santa's hand on the megaphone. Maybe you have to hold his fake beard on because that is a bad Santa picture.
They have a human to dog translator. That's actually really good.
What is it? None of the icons are showing up for the other things. But what is a hair trimmer prank? What do you suppose that is?
It's I don't know how I know this. It's an app that like you turn it on and it makes like razor noises. So you come up to someone behind them and you put like your phone on their head and you do the razor noise and they think that you're razoring their head. And that's the funny haha joke.
Okay, I see the human to dog translator now.
I want that. I'm downloading that right now.
The email section of their website says, shoot us a message.
Oh.
They're also based out of the Netherlands. So
Perfect.
There you go. Making quality apps for cool people.
Mm-hmm. And probably very in tune with Idaho ghosts. Oh, I also love how this their website just doesn't work for mobile at all.
Yeah, I was noticing that. So I just received news, very spooky news. I'm going to go ahead and send it your way.
Oh no.
I'm going to want you to check these out. Fifth and sixth members of the podcast Carrie and Natalie sending in these very Halloweeny treats. I don't.
There's no fucking way that's only 306 calories. I'm just putting that out there.
No, absolutely not. Unless it's cardboard under that.
Oh no. Oh my god.
Yeah, that second one's good, huh?
It
Also,
froze my phone.
I'm a big fan of it just being called the stacked party cake
Oh my
because,
god. I mean,
for
that
reference,
cake is pretty stacked.
I want to describe this cake because I think it's important that people know how good the cakes around here are. Um, this is definitely a grocery store cake, and it is a flat oval cake covered in green icing with like fringe around the bottom and the edges, and then 5 similarly green iced chocolate cupcakes on top. There's a finger sticking out of each cupcake in like a diagonal, like it's trying to get the most area covered by its pointing fingers possible. And then the middle one just has a giant unblinking eyeball. And for good measure, they just sprayed like blood jelly all over it. I mean, it is
pretty
spooky.
good. I mean, really my only complaint is that those do not look like fingers to me. They look just, is it supposed to be a thumb?
No, I think that's a finger. It's got a black nail and it's got, the appropriate ridges on it.
I would just say they could do a little better in the never mind. They could do a lot better in a lot of different departments, but this is pretty good. I don't like the texture of the top outer icing ring.
I'll be honest, I'm not loving the texture of either of those cakes.
It kind of looks like fur, but also grass if it were thick and floppy.
Weirdly, I've been getting a lot of cake pictures lately. Let me just shoot you a couple I've received this week. I don't know why this is happening to me. It's also from like random people. But that one will come through there in a second.
Ooh,
I think you'll enjoy it.
That's pretty. Is that a Swedish fish on the top?
I don't know.
It looks like a Swedish fish that was like bisected.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's supposed to be a bow. That's probably more. Wait, I just realized that there's a giant unicorn horn coming out of that.
Yeah.
I didn't even see that.
It's like a cat narwhal. Like fairy wings, maybe? And the wings look like they're made out of halved red bell pepper.
Yes. Ooh.
I'm just a big fan of that last one.
I mean, yeah, that's pretty straightforward football cake. Got the laces. That's about as good as I could draw a football. So I have no complaints there.
Yeah, when I think Seattle, I think sports cakes.
Hell
Seems
yeah.
appropriate.
With a just very oddly shaped football.
Yeah.
Kind of a teardrop shape, which is, as I understand it, not how you want them to look. But
well, true sportsmen and sportswomen know why it's shaped like that.
Yes, I would never argue with the true sports people. As an avid non-sports person, these are all very good, and I really appreciate the fact that you were the designated cake photo receiver.
Yeah, for whatever reason, it's continuing to happen.
You just have that air about you that you want people to send you photos of cakes.
Oh shit, this cake sucks. I think we gotta send it to Jesse.
I understand that line of thinking. I do.
Yeah.
And I think you'll be receiving some cake pictures in the near future.
I guess if you cultivate that air, you may as well expect it. I don't know if I can get this Ouija app because my grandpa died a little over uh, like 18 months ago, and he left me like a hunting rain jacket and a knife. And I don't know if I want to really assess the spirits circling around
Why? Why not? Is this the knife that I can't remember what it's made out of, but I think you told me the handle is made out of something.
Oh, yeah, the handle is made out of walrus tusk.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
You know it's at least got some like walrus ghosts attached to it then probably.
I am curious what a walrus ghost's name would be, but I guess we'll never know because I can't.
Marty. I could ask the app for you.
Yeah, you do that because I think you have the experience to read what it's telling you now.
I think I do. This is the beginning of my career as a professional. I am now watching an ad for My Hero Academia.
That seems like terrible crossover. Have you been watching a lot of anime?
No. It's an ad for Funimation now.
I mean, that's just a way to get your My Hero on.
Oh, okay. And here at the bottom, we have an ad for. Oh shit! I clicked it. Fuck. Kim Kardashian Hollywood version.
Wait, what? Is that her app?
I guess. I'm really interested in how they're deciding to target these ads at me. But
what information did you give it? Bank account.
No, you know everything.
Mother's maiden name.
You don't have to input any information to like use it, but it knows my phone's name because it refers to me as Titanic 2.
Oh, good.
Not Madison, which is my phone's name is Titanic 2.
I feel like that's a really well thought out joke in there somewhere when you were naming it.
Yeah, I think I saw a meme about this when I was 13 and I just really stuck with it, but you know, because when you plug it in it syncs.
Uh-huh.
But it is my second phone, hence the 2. So yeah, that's it.
Yeah. That's like my my PlayStation name is Colonel Delicious, which I thought was a good idea at some point, and I think it remains a good idea because now I've learned just how many people can't tell what that word is. Like it's a pretty yeah, it's a pretty well-known word, like, but yeah, most people, I've gotten a lot of like, what is this colonel delicious?
Oh no.
And it really speaks well of our educational system.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, it's much better than my brother's like PlayStation name, which I'm probably going to be outing him by saying this. But I don't think he definitely doesn't play on PlayStation anymore because I have it. So, his screen name was Pac-Man Blackman, and my brother is not black.
No, but I've seen your brother and heard about his quirks.
Choices.
Yeah.
Seems pretty in line with what you know, I'd imagine.
I think if he were a My Hero Academia character, his super quirk would be racial sensitivity.
You know, he is really known for that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm. I just. I really would like to pick his brain on what. At what time did he think that like the cross section of those two things was like that's my username? Like I played Pac-Man and once I saw a black dude and now this is my username. Like why? What? I want to know what the thought was there because I think he came up with it when he was like 10. So
Also, this is just from the perspective of an extremely white person, but like your family's not 100% white. You would think
that
that you
too.
could just pull from the culture that you do have and find something cool there.
You would think.
Yeah.
Maybe he's taking from my dad actually, because my dad has taken to, um, you know how on like the new iOS updates you can make your own emoji that looks like you.
Yeah, I haven't gotten that update yet, but I've gotten a
Yeah,
lot of those.
yeah. I haven't updated to that either, but that update is the reason I know that my dad thinks that he is black and not brown.
Huh.
For context, he's definitely brown and not black, but he
Yeah,
keeps sending me emojis of himself in which he is black.
I've definitely seen pictures that do not tell me this is a black man. But hey, I mean,
I guess that's just the choice that he's made.
I guess
Uh,
having a positive view of that is good. Like I don't know.
I'm I don't know. I don't know how to feel about it. I'm not like upset, but I do at times have to point out to him, you have seen yourself, right? There's a big range of skin tones you can go with on emojis, and the darkest one is just not where you belong.
See, I live in the other side of that where if I make a self-portrait, I basically just don't have to paint that part of the portrait because
Yeah.
I just put a line where the mouth is and you're pretty much done. So I'm getting word that that first cake I sent you is actually an apple.
Yeah, I did notice that. I saw
I
that.
did not.
Which actually maybe, and that's when I made the remark about calories. Maybe it is possible it's only 306 if it's just a severely iced apple.
Yeah, it's only a Pop-Tart and a half. That's barely anything.
That's, that is the standard unit of measurements of calories. So,
It's usually
yeah.
how I think of them.
In terms of Pop Tarts,
How many Pop-Tarts is this?
oh, I like that unit and I'll be using it in the future.
I usually about 100 calories is a Pop-Tart. It's not all Pop-Tarts, but when I started in like junior high, trying to, because when I was like 300 pounds, I was like, something's got to happen. I'm either going to be dead or not 300 pounds. Thankfully, I went the not 300 pounds route, but
It's a good, yep.
that was probably like seventh grade was the last time that I was like, oh, Pop Tarts, got to get in there. And the ones at that point that I was eating were, I guess, about 200 calories per tart. And that's how I learned how bad food is most of the time, was looking at that and looking how many calories you have a day and then looking at my diet. Uh, but I think it was still another year or so of me and my friend eating entire tubes of those Pillsbury cinnamon rolls.
Oh, okay. I thought you were gonna say cookie dough. That's what I
No,
thought that was going.
a whole tube of cookie dough, even if you're a fat guy, is rough.
Oh, I don't think I've ever had those cinnamon rolls or the tubes. How many cinnamon rolls is that? Like,
uh, I think it's 8. They're
That's a
not the
good number.
they're not the biggest cinnamon rolls. I remember always
Yeah,
wanting it to be 9 because my parents and I couldn't split it evenly, so somebody always either got half more than everybody else or somebody got like skimped on one.
yeah, that's not a good situation.
Yeah, it's a real shit show. But if you and your fat friend are like, we could each have 4, that works out. And then if, say, a couple months after that, you and your fat friend are like, I could eat 8. And of course, my parents had 2 pans that were the right size to do those in. So
Yes.
it was it was eating an entire tray of those per person for a while watching a televised episode of Mystery Science Theater. And that's like the big event for the weekend. And I guess the rest of the weekend was recovering.
Doesn't sound like a bad life in
Yeah.
terms of happiness level.
Yeah. I mean, it was pretty okay. To be fair, I was also playing a lot of basketball, and I feel like if that weren't happening, I would have been probably dead. Probably would have died. That's my guess.
Well, thank God for the basketball and
Yeah.
the trays of cinnamon roll.
Uh-huh.
Oh, and for even numbers of cinnamon rolls, so you can split them evenly.
Yeah, only among 2 people though.
Yeah.
Or I guess 4 or 8, but who wants that?
Well, someone somewhere.
Uh, I've been invited to do uh I guess be an unpaid extra in somebody's business commercial.
Ooh.
And the payment appears to be free drinks and food from the catering company. This is one of the the company I work for
Hmm.
slash we worked for. It's another wedding place,
Oh, okay.
but it's a catering place, and I don't know.
And they want extras for their commercial.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to do that or not. I feel like going alone and then just uh, eating and drinking a bunch of their food and then like bussing back here isn't gonna make me feel accomplished with my time.
I would have to go with probably not.
Yeah.
And my little experience with um, those types of events, or I guess not, I've never done a commercial or anything, but being surrounded by wedding industry people,
Not your favorite?
not my favorite. It's fine. The few times I did that, I was being paid to do it, so that's fine.
Yeah.
But for just food and drinks, yeah, I don't know about that.
You weren't being paid in how drunk can you get, how fast?
I'm okay. If you're phrasing it like that, then maybe I might be interested. But
I could I could wear that shirt that I wore to Michelle's wedding with the horses all over it.
oh, please, please do that.
They said business casual. I think that's
And
business casual.
if possible at all, maybe just slap on that walrus knife in a holster, just
Oh
so
yeah.
you're ready.
Well, the only belt I have that could hold that is the one with the walrus buckle.
Please.
Uh, I that knife might actually be too big to take out in public because I think it's like 5.5 inches, and you can't have like 6 or over or something like that.
Oh, I was not aware there was a rule, but that makes sense.
Yeah, there's some I'm not like boned up on it, but there is rule that I remember hearing about like intentionally lethal knives versus like utility knives or something.
Mm, mm. Well, I mean, just depends on how you look at it. If it's 5.5 inches, that I mean, you could that could be utility. I mean, for skinning walruses or
Uh-huh.
something.
Yeah, you gotta
That's a
get through that.
utility.
All those walruses being skinned in the city. I think they frown on that. I could probably
Well,
I could try to make a case for it being self-defense against the octopi.
yes,
That
absolutely.
that is a specific thing to hear that maybe I could, I don't know, get a octopus hating jury on my side for.
Also, I like the length rule. You guess it was like 6 inches or higher or something. I think
Yeah.
we should apply that to guns too. That would be a good rule for guns. Anything this small, fine. If it's
Pistols only.
this, yeah. I mean, I'm just saying. I
I
think it'd
don't
be effective.
I don't mind pistols only to a degree, but I think pistols are like the concealed weapon that ends up being what kills most people
That makes sense because
because
they're
they're the
easier
easiest
to
to,
hide.
yeah.
Suppose I didn't think that part through.
I think
Well, then
the
let's just get
rule,
rid of all of them. How about that?
I'm okay with that. I think if people want something for hunting and they want something to keep it sporting, it should be uh, up to a crossbow, and you should have to have the arrows at least 2 feet away from the crossbow unless you plan to use it.
I like
So,
these
like,
rules.
you could have arrows in your trunk and you could have the crossbow in your back seat, but you have to get out and load that thing in order to use it. I would be more okay with that. It still offers just enough potential for murderous violence by assholes that you could probably convince them that it's going to be okay if they still have those, while actually making it very difficult and uh, at
Mhm.
least more awkward to try and hurt people.
And at least the news stories with this one would be a little bit more whimsical. Like, and he
Yeah.
flashed out a crossbow, and I don't know how crossbows work, but a little bit more whimsical than just getting fucking shot.
Yeah, for sure. Most things are more whimsical than that.
Um, that's a fair assessment.
Also,
Oh,
if teams of cops they had designated crossbowers and designated arrow carriers,
I would love that.
so they didn't get to just have everything they needed to like randomly murder people that they don't like the skin color of.
That I think we're really onto something there. Honestly, if everything could just go back to like medieval weaponry and justice systems,
I don't know about that second
well,
part. I like that first part a lot.
mostly what I was trying to get after is jousting. I think people should solve their problems by jousting each other.
I'd
That's
be okay
mostly
with
what I
that.
want.
I think maybe I think a duel would be okay, mostly because if you were willing to duel to try and prove your point was right, then like maybe maybe that works. I just feel like it would lead to the same place we're at now if we did that again. What if you had to duel with those water weenie things? Uh,
I would
like
accept
those,
that.
the first person who gives up. I feel like
uh,
that would be at least something. You have to believe in your point strongly enough to be able to deal with how stupid it's going to look when you try to prove it.
yeah, okay. I'm totally on board with this new system that we figured out.
Yeah. We need to go back to a threat-based system without the violence.
There you go. Just the threat being pure embarrassment
Hmm.
and also it stings when you get hit with those a little bit.
To tie something back to, I think, previous to episode, we could just go to a dick shaking competition for most problems. And it could be like a game of chicken where you keep getting closer to the other person. I feel like that would
Yes.
give people who are gay the edge too in dealing with like really shitty conservatives.
I really like that, and I hope it happens. I would love to see that happen.
You know, what we really just need is more federal overreach.
Yeah, I mean that's what I've been getting at this whole time, really.
Like, I feel like that's true. I feel like if we could abolish the president. This is a weird angle for this podcast to take. We abolish the president, we go parliamentary. That's step one. And then we abolish, I'm going to say, white men from office for like a decade.
Yeah.
And then we burn crosses. That's probably where that goes.
I mean, yeah. You might start with the burning crosses and then end with the abolishing the president. I don't know.
I think we started at burning crosses already in
Well,
the wrong way, so that's probably not going to work out.
That's true. Okay, yeah. End with the burning crosses. Then you can go out in a spectacle sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. Or we could just we could treat all religions like they have to operate like people and stop giving them huge tax breaks, and then just offer people things like medicine so that they don't have to turn to a support group like a church to like live comfortably.
You know, but that might make them happy and live longer. And who wants that?
Yeah, that's true.
Certainly not me. Well, yeah, that was a fun angle for the podcast to take.
I mean, at least I
like
didn't go into the Kurds, so that's fine. Next time.
Oh, I think that's a good place to stop, as we're almost at an hour and a half.
Oh, yeah. Anybody who's listening to this, I'm sorry about all of that.
I'm not. And with that, I will leave everybody with the call to action to, I would say burn the crosses, but that's the final step. So go abolish the president somehow.
Yeah.
Do that first.
Abolish the president non-violently? I don't know.
I mean...
I guess it doesn't matter at this point.
I mean... Okay. And with that, goodbye.
Goodbye.